and former Treasury Department terrorism finance analyst, Jonathan Schanzer. Jonathan, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You know, part of this big deal that President Trump is talking about is obtaining for the United States military these drones that Ukraine has developed. It's pretty remarkable, the innovation that Ukraine has managed to accomplish, right?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, we see this right now on two different fronts, the Israelis and the Ukrainians. These are two American allies facing off against much larger and ideologically motivated foes. And they are figuring out how to fight for themselves, by themselves. Certainly, they need the United States, some of the support that we're watching. But, man, are they taking drone warfare to the next level? They're finding ways to innovate. And then that's going to come back here. That's technology that we can begin to integrate here in our own military to benefit American warfighters. I think this is one of these kind of mutually beneficial relationships that we're watching in Ukraine. Certainly, we watched that in Israel last month. This is exactly the way that alliances are supposed to work.
Yeah, and we actually just got a news alert now that Kyiv is sending an offer to Moscow to hold talks. It seems like we've had a lot of offers for talks, but in the end, Russia doesn't seem interested in doing anything but continuing its war to try to take over the country, right? I mean, do you think that anything has changed in that calculation?
No, I think that's right. I think that what the game changer looks like right now is that the Europeans are actually putting skin in the game. And I got to give full credit to Donald Trump. The first term, he was pushing the Europeans to do this, pushing NATO to do this. Nobody wanted to. And it ended in frustration. Well, then Putin invades. All of a sudden, the Europeans begin to realize that their backs are up against the wall. Trump plays hardball with them and finally gets them to agree to start funding this war, putting their own backs into this, buying weapons from the United States and pushing to the front. I see this as, again, this is an important development here. This is the moment that I think Vladimir Putin begins to question his own strategy because inadvertently, he's succeeded in uniting the Europeans and the United States to back Ukraine. This is an incredible turn of events, in my view.
Yeah, and just within the last couple of weeks, President Trump has now said, okay, this whole idea that we're going to pull off in providing weapons, we're back in that game now. How much does that begin to try to change Putin's calculation?
I think it has to, right? I mean, I think, we just heard about Patriots being sold to the Germans. They just jumped the line. It was supposed to go to the Swiss. The Germans are then going to send some of their own weapons to the front to help the Ukrainians. And this has to begin to erode some of Putin's confidence. He's got to wonder whether his strategy is going to continue to pay off now that the Germans are in this. Other European countries are in this. It's beginning to change that calculus. That's a good thing.
What's the next step that the administration should be taking? And then on top of that, when you look at the way this conflict has gone, these lines have been static for a long, long time. What can change that game?
Look, I think, first of all, just getting more of these Europeans involved, making sure that they're sending weapons to the front, they're buying American weapons. I think if we start to really multiply that, I think that's a very positive step. Sanctions, and we know this is on the table right now, more diplomatic, financial pressure on Putin, I think that's important. But look, we may have a moment where and more than a moment, where the front doesn't change very much, that we have kind of a static conflict. But even that, if Putin understands that he's not going to be able to advance, that will erode some of kind of the it's a psychological thing for him. He's going to begin to understand that he cannot win. That may be as good as we can get.
Yeah, turning to Iran now, they might be facing more sanctions soon if there's no deal over its nuclear program by August. Do you think that the United States should accept anything short of no nuclear enrichment on Iranian territory?
Look, that is the line that we have to hold. I think the good news right now is there's not much of a nuclear program to talk about. This is about future intent. And when you look at Iran right now, it does not hold a lot of cards. Yeah, it's trying to provide additional weapons and financing to its proxies. That may get it a little bit more strength regionally, but when you look around the region right now, that ring of fire strategy that it had empowering those proxies, marching towards a nuclear weapon, all of that has fallen apart. Now, I don't want to say that Israel or the United States are out of the woods. This is still a dangerous regime, and it's wounded, which may even make it more dangerous. But we have the leverage right now with the Islamic Republic. We need to use it. I think Donald Trump has used it. I think the question now is whether the international community joins forces with Trump in the same way that they have as it relates to the Ukraine crisis. You can see how unity works against some of our enemies.
Even these years of defeats, and as they've accelerated recently, has that changed what this regime is all about, or will nothing truly change until this regime goes away?
Look, in my view, the regime itself is the problem, right? I don't see them making reforms. I don't see them agreeing with the United States on disarmament or ending its enrichment program. But that's kind of the point here is, okay, fine. You want to say they can't be the Islamic Republic if they capitulate? Fine. Well, then we've got to push them all the way to the edge. This is still a threat to the United States. It is still a threat to all of our allies around the region, not just the Israelis, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Bahrainis. They all see the Islamic Republic as a threat. If we're able to neutralize this threat, I think we see the return of the American-led world order, certainly as it pertains to the Middle East, maybe beyond.
Jonathan Schanzer, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.